Welcome to Spotlight on St. John's. I'm your host, Brian Brown. St. John's University is a Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university. And St. John's University is on a mission to ensure student success. St. John's University is proud to be the home of a number of exciting performing arts organizations. Whether you like to sing, act, dance, or play a musical instrument, there are many opportunities for students to get involved with the performing arts on campus. Today, we explore performing arts with Nigel Gretton, the longtime and multi-talented director of performing arts at St. John's University. Let's watch. Nigel Gretton, thank you for stepping into the spotlight. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you have been an important character here at the Story of St. John's for some 30 plus years.
Yes.
Could you talk about how you found your way to St. John's University?
I found my way to St. John's University through Voices of Victory. The choir was just forming and looking for a director.
That's the gospel choir
here. The gospel choir here at St. John's. And there was a student at the time who was also a member of a choir I was directing, a community choir I was directing for the local NAACP branches on Long Island. And she asked, would I be interested in coming to St. John's to work with the choir? And after some thinking back and forth, a good friend of mine who was the lead advisor for that particular group said to me, you should really consider it. And came, met the students, and the rest is history.
There you go. And that was 1987?
That was 1987, 88, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what over the 30 years has changed the most for you, and what has stayed the same?
Well, the choir stayed the same in terms of that particular role as conductor. What's been different has been almost everything else. We now have the organized and established performing arts here at St. John's, and I proudly serve as leader of performing arts as well. And as director of performing arts, it is, you get intimately involved with each group. And
now each group is Voices of Victory,
jazz band, Chapel Players Theater Group, and the mixed chorus.
Okay, so four different performing arts organizations.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
And three of which now are actually classes as well that are offered through St. John's College, administered through the music division in art and design. Okay. And it's pretty exciting. So you see over the years watching students develop and looking at the evolution of the groups. Many of them, of course, the history of mixed chorus and chapel plays in particular are well over 100 years, and so of course before my time here. And it's great to see the evolution of those students, plus meeting alums who were actually here from the 1950s and 60s. It was pretty cool a few years ago to meet a chapel player. They said he was a class of 1961.
Oh, wow.
And interesting because he talked about the times at St. John's then. He was actually considered the first black chapel player, which is actually very, very funny.
Really?
Funny story. And
wow.
And listening to his journey here at St. John's. In addition, just meeting, there are a few actors from stage and screen that had come through, chapel players, who sometimes come for the annual alumni dinner at St. John's. And it's an interesting time. With Voices of Victory, I'm still in touch with students from the first years.
Wow. And
now some of their children, and I've had the pleasure of now teaching some of their children. So it's been interesting.
It's a multi-generational thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. Now let's talk about Voices of Victory. That's competitive, right? You don't take everybody.
No, by audition.
So you have to audition.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's got to be hard, I would think, right?
Well, I don't think it's so hard. It's students with developed talent who have a desire to sing, while they don't have to necessarily be at concert level when they come to audition. They should show some promise. Okay. And then we work with them and get them to the place where they're able to do more than they did when they first came in the door.
Terrific.
Yeah.
They get some sort of stipend, grant?
Yeah, there's activity grant and aid available to all students in performing arts.
Okay.
And it ranges from a few $100s to a few $1,000s per student.
Sure.
And now, of course, because 3 of the programs are classes, they also receive course credit by registering for the class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fair enough. How big is the group?
The group now always teeters between 25 and 32 people.
Okay. Male, female, people of all walks of life and
All
backgrounds?
walks. We've had folks from many, many different ethnic backgrounds
Right.
and religious backgrounds.
Okay.
So I think one of the misconceptions is that because it's a gospel choir,
Right.
that people need to be Christian only.
Okay.
Of course, one of the beautiful parts of that is that we're here at Catholic University, so of course there are many Christians, but that's not really the focus. It is, we've had students who were Muslim, we've had students who are Jewish, we've had students of multiple denominations within Christianity,
Okay.
all part of Voices of Victory. We've even had some atheists and agnostics. The idea is that this music has a rich cultural history. So they learn about the music, they learn vocal technique, and we really develop musicians.
Right.
So they understand more than singing, and my hope is that in pursuing excellence in this music, that they learn some life lessons about commitment,
Right.
and about how you work with a team and how you make things happen.
Right. Is it competitive in the sense, do people compete for like a solo, or is it, cutthroat? Is it?
Oh, not at all.
No.
It's more like a family.
More like a family.
The students understand, but my style has always been the same, which is that in looking at solos or any solo work, it is the best voice for the particular composition, not necessarily the best singer in the group, but the best voice for the particular composition. And so they understand this is not a competition of favorites, but what works most appropriately for the work.
Terrific. Now, every time I see Voices of Victory perform, I always come away like, they don't sing like that at my church. And I love my church, but could you speak to just that faith perspective that, it's really a performance. It's all in.
It is, we think about arts in ministry, or the ministry of art. In its purest form, we think about the mission of gospel music, which is gospel means the good news.
Right.
So it is sharing the good news, and it's about the cornerstone of the Christian faith. However, there's a large cultural component. So this music came out of 2 major episodes in this country's history around struggle, freedom, and movements to get to the place of all kinds of freedom for people who were oppressed. So the music itself, while it comes out of the African American tradition, it is actually an American music and universal in that it is the message of hope for people who sometimes may lose hope. So it's so there's a message in it for everyone.
Well said. Now, do you mix in different types, contemporary, traditional, praise, worship?
Absolutely. There's all of the above, and there are elements of blending of different music styles, different genres. So there may be a gospel song, so the text is certainly the message of faith, but then the style could be in the jazz style.
Right.
We've done some things with elements of classical music. We've done some things with elements of big band. And,
is that unorthodox? Is that like pushing the boundaries of gospel?
Some people might say so, but it is, it's already out there, and it's what we do. And I think that it's probably unlikely that you'll come to a Voices of Victory gospel concert and hear music that's considered gospel's top 40. Because I think if we're presenting music that's going to be a challenge to the students,
Right.
the idea is that they should still grow from the point that they enter to the point that they leave. And if they are exposed to and perform music that's actually challenging vocally and technically, that they'll gain some new skills. So usually this music that actually has some complexity, so that there's a different experience for the students.
Wow. How often do you practice?
Officially, twice a week.
Right. But they have to be working on their own.
Indeed. So they have homework to do outside of our time together. And then during major concert periods, we're here, like, to give an example, spring concert is this coming, the 4th of May, which is a Saturday. So that week, concert week, we call Family Week. So they'll be in session Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thursday's actually the hair and makeup day, where they can actually work out and finishing touches on wardrobe.
Okay.
So it's and we can be here for several hours per night.
Is your retention good in the sense that the student comes in and they stick it out? Or?
Retention is excellent. Most students stay for the 4 years that they're
Wonderful.
here. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I even have some students who are now here as graduate students and they still participate.
Excellent. I'll talk a little bit about your own personal background.
Sure.
Immigrated to this country at a young age?
I immigrated from Trinidad with my family.
Okay. And what were your influences, or what did you listen to growing up? Or
growing up in Trinidad and in New York, American pop music, R&B and soul, and of course the music of the church. At the time, I grew up as a Catholic person living in any Caribbean country that's influenced by England. Catholic Church is big, and so is the Church of England.
Is the music any better down there?
Well, now it is.
All right.
But back then, it was very much music in the style of the European classical tradition.
Okay.
And then there were some treat days where we would have some of the local calypso music that was actually infused with the church music. But there was a time that I vividly remember where that was considered heresy to have that style of music being played in the church.
Wow.
So so we've come a long way.
Okay.
So those were the influences growing up. Certainly my own cultural music, listening to the steel pan music and a lot of calypso music was vibrant and alive in my home and some of the events we would go to with family members and friends.
Okay.
And then, of course, it was always American pop music. WABC radio was a big thing in our household, and that evolved. I think by the time I got to high school, listening to my friends who went to churches where gospel music was the center of the music programs.
Right.
That music fascinated me. I didn't play it very well or perform it very well at the time, but then that began to change.
Okay. But that really is part of the liturgical experience. I
Indeed.
mean, it's the music, it's all that goes into it, it's the lessons that come from it. I mean,
Yes.
it's really embedded in that church experience.
Oh, absolutely. I think that that this music, although I've been involved in churches for most of my life, it is through the music. I mean, as a music minister now at 2 churches, my faith, my understanding of God happened through the music. It wasn't through the preached word or attending any number of religious instruction classes, but it was actually through this music. You meditate on a particular passage, and you start to get the message. And sometimes even in repeating over and over again the phrases. So I'm teaching students something, but I'm actually learning from the phrase itself. I was like, wow, well, yeah, that means this thing. And I would face a joy or challenge in my life and remember some of these lines, and they touch me a different way.
How do you describe yourself? Are you more of a teacher, a director, a performer, all of the above?
I would say all of the above. It's I think when people ask me what I do for a living, I still tell them I'm a musician.
Okay.
It is at the core. I'm a musician who's still learning and trying to figure things out.
Okay.
It's I think the teacher in me happened naturally, and you recognize that the longer you live, the more things you might have to offer.
Right.
So, but the beautiful thing about art is that someone who's 5 years old can give me new insight to something that I've looked at for years, simply because they have a different take on it, and it's so that's exciting. So in many ways, yes, I'm teacher, but I'm always student as well.
Okay. Well, always learning.
Always
No matter
learning.
what you're doing in life. I want to come back to Voices of Victory. Over the 30-plus years you've been associated with them, you've traveled around. Can you speak to some of the best memories, most far-flung places? What stands out?
Well, a few things. There was a conference in Atlanta called the National Black Gospel College Choir Workshop, and that was hosted by a team of folks from colleges across the country that were looking to highlight gospel music in particular out of the African American experience. But they hosted 100 schools from around the country, and schools presented at this particular event. So a student came to me and told me about this particular thing. It was probably in the 90s. And so I think the first year we went as part of a larger choir that was made up of groups from the city university schools.
Okay.
And then the following year, Voices went as Voices of Victory from St. John's University. That year, that was probably 1996, was the first year we presented, but also there happened to be in the audience a gentleman who was producing the Easter Festival in Sauda, Norway. And when we finished with the presentation, he ran out of the room and said, he called me Monsieur, which is funny, and then he said, you have to come to Norway. So of course I'm thinking, I'm not sure that he's serious. What is this guy doing? So then he convinced me that he was serious and meant business. And later that evening we met, and that was the first invitation for Voices of Victory to come and sing abroad, and that was actually to sing at the Easter Festival 1997
Wow.
in Norway.
Wow.
And that was life-changing in a lot of ways. First of all, it was an invitation, but it was at very little cost to St. John's University. The Norwegians actually gave us over $100,000. They paid for everything for us to come, and they housed us. And
So that one performance struck this person.
Yeah, literally, it was.
Wow.
They actually invited 2 schools from the 100,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and we were one of them, and the other was University of Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was amazing,
Okay.
and an amazing blessing. And then in Norway, each location was packed. We did about 7 concerts there, and a few church events. And you start to realize the universality of music and the universality of spirituality.
Right.
Because there were people who I did not know, never met, but had a connection to this music. People who...
And good music will do that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really amazing. I was so moved by, there were some women in one of the churches in Norway. Now, this is a small town, Sauda, so tiny, in fact, that because the festival was so large, their small hotels were full. We were housed on a boat.
Wow.
Nice boat, it's a Viking ship. And I remembered that when we went to the various venues, we met people who seemed really fascinated. And then I remember going to a Pentecostal church in this town, and it's called Salem Church, like Salem, but they say
Okay.
Salem.
Right.
And I remembered the church mothers. They baked these beautiful little pastries and gave it to us as gifts. But then I remembered that was how they greeted us. And then at the end of the concert, many of them were crying. And so they hugged us, and they were so loving and warm.
Wow.
And some of them, they talked about not really being clear on the words,
Okay.
but the feelings. And so touched, so
Wow.
moved, even now thinking about it, just
Wow, that's a great
humbling,
student
humbling.
experience. And
Oh my gosh,
great memory.
Yeah, great for all of us.
Now, over the years, you've influenced countless number of students in 30 years. More recently, a distinguished alum and graduate is Carvin Plassant,
Mhm.
who's on Broadway in
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Recently performed at a major fundraising event here at St. John's, the
Mhm.
President's Dinner. Could you talk about Carvin's and talk about, he cited you as an influence in his own life here at St. John's, and I guess talk about that experience.
Carvin's is unique in a lot of ways, but typical of a performer. I say this every semester, we have auditions, and you cast the net wide, and many times you end up with these treasures. So there are students who come along with really well-developed talent. I use the word developed talent a lot, but well-developed talent. And Carvers came to us from a dramatic academy, but had spent a lot of time acting, but not singing as much. So of course, with Voices of Victory, ended up singing more and honing his skills there. But it was clear to me, while very thrilling that he ended up landing the job in Hamilton, not surprising.
Okay. So you saw that in early age?
Absolutely. This spoke to his talent, his ability.
Okay.
Also the fearlessness of being willing to take risks as a performer, and understanding what it took. He is, we've had several students like that, and thank God we get blessed every couple of years with someone who, at that level, can operate and really take what we have here and make it into something amazing.
Okay.
So it's and every time a student contacts me or says, "Hey Nigel, X, Y, and Z is going on. I'm going to be featured in this, or this is happening," I feel as though this is a celebration for all of us.
Right.
It's I couldn't be more proud.
I want to go to a little bit of a lightning round or short answers.
Sure.
Are you ready? If you could perform with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Woo, boy, you said short answer. Well, any artist, dead or alive. I think if I think back to one of the strongest influences for me as a pianist, it would be Duke Ellington. So if I were to perform with anyone, dead or alive, it would be Duke.
Duke Ellington?
Yeah.
That's good company.
Yeah.
That's good company. If you had to listen to one collection of music, and only one, for the rest of your life.
Wow. That's hard. I like a lot of music.
Okay.
And I keep discovering new things that I just like a lot. So that's a hard one. Of the things I've heard, I think that I like music that is honest. And I guess I'm sidestepping the question, but really and truly, when I listen to expression, it's a musical expression that comes out of any cultural tradition where the people have actually put their heart and soul into it, the sound that the voice can make when it is this earnest expression is, to me, I could have no connection to the language, the people, but I still have an experience. So, say any music, I'll say any cultural music.
Wow, it's very introspective then, actually. I'll make this easy. Sam Cooke or Marvin Gaye?
Oh boy, well, Marvin.
All right. Aretha Franklin or Ray Charles?
Aretha.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great American.
Oh, indeed.
Great American. What's your go-to song? You're not feeling well, you're down, something. What's going to inspire you? What's going to turn it around?
Speaking of Aretha, Rocksteady.
All right, good choice. If you had to recommend one song, or I'll make it easy, even one album, that best explains to the uninformed gospel music. If you had to have one gospel music album in your collection, what should it be?
That's another tough one, because there's so much in layers. We had these two great awakenings in gospel, and they were markedly different because one was kind of touching the surface of new flavor in the music, and then the second awakening in the 60s was peppered with a lot of the soul and R&B influences. And now we're really in this other era. It's not really considered a great awakening, but certainly an evolution. So it has so many other elements. So it's hard to say. But I say this, probably in terms of an education, there's an album that Quincy Jones produced that is called Handel's Messiah, Soulful Celebration, that Voices of Victory still does music from during the Christmas season. And there's an overture in the beginning of that collection that gives a brief history of American music. And that takes you through many different styles that were all influenced from the one source. So I think that's actually, so if I said to someone, listen to this.
And the name of that album one more time?
It's actually the Handel's Messiah, Soulful Celebration. It is actually an adaptation of the Christmas collection in the Messiah from G.F. Handel,
Right, sure.
but done encompassing multiple styles and subgenres within the African American traditions in America.
All right. You have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Voices of Victory moving forward. Where do you go the next 30 years?
Next 30 years, I'm excited, first of all, about what the future is and about what music will come. We started working on a new piece last night that just was released only a few weeks ago. It's 2019 gospel, and it is it's new because it encompasses the beats of today. It is old because it encompasses the messages that are timeless. I'm looking forward to what the new theologians in gospel music will develop and share with us, and I can learn and be able to impart to others. So I'm excited about what's to come.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very optimistic, very forward-looking.
Hey.
Make the case to our viewers why students should come to St. John's, in particular come to St. John's for the performing arts and for the experience.
I'll face the camera for this one.
Please do.
For those students who are coming to school without the intention of majoring in music, but they have developed talent, whether it be in theater, in vocal music, or in instrumental music, and they have a strong interest in any of these arts areas, but this is not their major. We offer a rich collection of arts experiences here at St. John's under the tutelage of fantastic and accomplished directors. Our staff will share and develop any talent you have, and you'll leave here different than you came.
Amen.
Amen.
Nigel, not only are you hands down the best dressed gentleman on campus, you are a great interview, a great conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you for stepping into the spotlight.
Hey, a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
At St. John's University, the college experience and a well-rounded education is one that includes an appreciation of, an understanding, and exposure to the arts and culture. We make our home in the global capital of arts and media, and we seize that opportunity. Whether it is found in the academic curriculum, in extracurricular activities, or with the easy access that our New York City location provides, for students at St. John's University, all the world's a stage. From the Queens campus of St. John's University, I'm Brian Brown. Thanks for watching.